If you clicked on this video, the likelihood that you're a fan of muscle cars is pretty high. There are very few car enthusiasts who are unaware of what a muscle car is. Wait, are there people who don't know what a muscle car is? If this is true, then it's shocking. Well, the influence of this specific car type on the global auto industry is indescribable. Under the leadership of Ford, AMC, and Chrysler, muscle cars gained popularity and became the vehicles that everyone aspired to possess. Now the question is, why was the 70s the golden age of muscle cars? Let's find out. How it all started. Firstly, let's go back to how it all started. Since its 1949 introduction, the American muscle car has been a key component of the automotive industry. Oldsmobile responded to the growing demand for faster cars at the time by launching the Rocket 88. An overhead valve V8 with a larger inventory that was placed in a light Oldsmobile bodywork drove the Rocket 88. The Rocket 88 was the first car with a reliable V8 engine and a smaller, more compact body. 8 of 10 events in the 1950 NASCAR season were won by the Rocket 88, which produced 135 horsepower at 3,600 RPM and 263 pound-feet at 1,800 RPM. The modern era of high-performance V8 engines is said to have begun with the 1949 introduction of the Cadillac 331's engine and the Oldsmobile 303 V8 engine in the Rocket 88. Impressive, right? However, in the 1920s, the urge for faster cars was spurred by prohibition. Moonshiners and bootleggers started modifying their cars because they felt it would be entertaining to avoid police. The Southern moonshiners gained notoriety for their modified cars as prohibition waned over time. But the moonshiners adapted their vehicles to meet the increased demands for speed, maneuverability, and cargo space. These cars were considerably more capable by the 1940s. Moonshiners started showing off their cars since the moonshining business was not nearly as successful as it had been during the Prohibition era. The Oldsmobile Rocket 88 was inspired by these customized cars, which dominated street racing competitions. The pinnacle of the muscle cars. The muscle car industry began to flourish in 1964, marking the beginning of its golden age. In 1964, Pontiac set a new standard for muscle cars with the introduction of the Tempest GTO. Gran Turismo Homologado, or Grand Tourer Homologation, is what GTO stands for. It simply meant that the car was prepared for racing. The GTO had both the charisma and the ability to become a symbol of muscle car culture. Young people might afford the Pontiac GTO for a reasonable $3,200. In its first year of business, Pontiac sold more than 6 times as many cars as anticipated. That year also saw the introduction of the terrifying Ford Thunderbolt. Even though only 127 were made, it was considered a dangerous vehicle to drive, yet it is still regarded as an excellent muscle car. Popular cars like the Chevrolet Camaro were produced by rival automakers like Chevrolet. The development of a relatively affordable muscle automobile, the Plymouth Roadrunner, led to diversification. The market was oversaturated, and the automakers were beginning to lose money. In 1968, federal safety and pollution laws were created. Although the industry was at risk due to these influences and limitations, the muscle car industry was booming in the late 1960s. The Camaro, Mustang, and Firebird were all completely refurbished, and everyone was having a great time. In addition to receiving a completely new appearance with prominent hood scoops, the GTO's price dropped. The Dodge Charger became well known, and because of its unique wing, the Daytona model became a favorite among fans. GM was able to get back into the pony car market by redesigning the Camaro and Firebird. The muscle and pony car industries were flourishing in the late 1960s, but a decline was inevitable. The 70s was the year we had cars that men grew up admiring. Let's talk about them. We have the 1972 Ford Gran Torino Sport. The 70s Gran Torino Sport is one of Ford's muscle vehicles that doesn't get the credit it merits. Compared to previous muscle vehicles from the automotive giant, like Mustang, the Gran Torino had a considerably shorter lifespan, but during its 4 years of production, from 1972 to 1976, it epitomized almost everything that was unique about American muscle at the time. The classic external style of the 72 Gran Torino is the first feature that made so many people fall in love with it, as is the case with other muscle cars. With identically formed twin headlights on either side, the Gran Torino Sport's egg crate grille is among the most identifiable elements of any muscle vehicle among fans. With a standard 302 V8 engine generating 140 horsepower, the Gran Torino Sport's power is likewise nothing to belittle. The 1970 Buick Skylark GSX Stage 1 is not left out as well. The 1970 Buick Skylark GSX was a much less well-known muscle vehicle than the others on the list, but it was made to push the base GSX model even further so Buick could compete with the finest in the muscle car market. Although Buick was renowned for its luxury and comfort, the Skylark GSX placed more of an emphasis on raw performance while preserving the comfort that has come to be associated with the brand. The powerful engine of the 70 Skylark GSX was its most notable feature. The muscle car industry was astounded by the record 510 pound-feet of torque that the improved 455, the Stage 1, which was available as an option in the GSX, could produce with a listed horsepower of 360. The Skylark GSX was one of the meanest, most aggressive-looking muscle cars of the decade, and its looks matched its power. And we have the 1970 Oldsmobile 442. Oldsmobile would go on to solidify their reputation in addition to launching the muscle car industry in the late 1940s. The 1970 Oldsmobile 442, the company's pinnacle of performance muscle cars at the time, is regarded by muscle car enthusiasts as one of the greatest produced by the automaker. Oldsmobile went all out for the 70 model, which got its moniker from its 4-speed manual transmission, 4-barrel carburetor, and dual exhaust. The 442's V8 engine produced 365 horsepower and an equally impressive 500 pound-feet of torque after General Motors eventually lifted the horsepower limitations and installed the enormous 455 cubic inch large block under the hood to power the vehicle. But Oldsmobile's power didn't end there. The W30 performance package improved the car's performance by fine-tuning a number of components. Few muscle cars could compete with the 442 when equipped with a W30 package. Even without the package, the Oldsmobile was regarded as the greatest at the time because of its immense power. But how did it all come to end? How it ended. The car industry saw a change in the early 1970s. As a result of the new pollution regulations, automakers started creating engines that ran on low-lead gasoline. The powerful motors of the 1960s had to be toned down by automakers to comply with the regulations. Performance issues were caused by large, heavier bumpers that were mandated by new federal car safety rules. These new limits significantly diminished the performance of the muscle vehicles. There was a panic in the American market in 1973 when OPEC cut back on oil supply to the United States. An energy crisis has never before happened in U.S. history, and major shortages of gasoline led to a sharp rise in prices. The insurance industry began to tighten down on performance cars in the late 1960s because muscle cars were viewed as risky. The cost of purchasing a muscle car was rising too much for the market it was intended for, especially when combined with inflation. Many Americans believed that owning small, lightweight cars was a better option for them. Demand decreased as muscles were more costly since people who could afford them did not utilize them because of their poor performance. The majority of big block cars was discontinued by 1975 due to a lack of demand for muscle cars. Stock or significantly modified cars, like the Plymouth Roadrunner, were among the vehicles that survived. The Firebird and Camaro were the only pony cars still in production in 1974. The Mustang evolved from a pony car to a compact luxury automobile. With improved performance and no rivals, the Firebird was still a major force in the booming car industry in the middle of the 1970s. The year after Pontiac's increased sales of Firebirds, Chevrolet brought the Camaro Z28 back to the market. In contrast to efficiency, some people who entered the automotive business prioritized appearance. The late 1970s saw manufacturers adjust to government regulations. The third-generation Mustang, including a V8 engine option and completely new design, was introduced in 1979. Sales of low-torque V8 engines were robust, suggesting that performance cars may regain their appeal. But that same year, there was another fuel crisis in America. Because of all of these things, that incredible run came to an end. Let's have your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for staying through till the end. Be a legend. Hit the subscribe button and don't forget to watch our previous videos.